You know what? I'm pissed off. American people are getting screwed by the big banks.
And I am getting madder and madder.
It's unbelievable.
Then this guy walks into my office and says,
there's some shady stuff going down. No one's paying attention.
the banks got greedy.
With a stellar cast of Brad Pitt, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Christian Bale, The Big Short tells the story of the 2008 collapse of the American housing market. Director and co-writer Adam McKay tackled the tough project head on. And Adam was recently in Toronto, and our film critic Richard Krause had a chance to sit down and chat with him.
Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much.
Now, I think when people first connected your name to this material, they said, what's the guy that made, Anchorman and those films making this film? I see a through line. I see Anchorman being a satire about news. I see Step Brothers being about consumerism, all that. So is this just a more straightforward kind of look at this than maybe you've done in the past?
I think so. I think with all of our comedies, you're correct. We always have a little bit of a point of view in there that we're kind of playing with, as silly and as absurdist as the movies are.
I love the ladies, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady. I don't know what we're yelling about.
When I read this book, I just kind of did everything I wanted to see in a movie. I mean, it was funny.
I love my job, honey.
Mark.
That's my cap. That is my cap.
The characters were amazing. It was incredibly relevant. I just never read a book like it. So these were all interests I had on the outside. Some of them would show up in our comedies, but I just never read a book this entertaining, yet this informative, yet this tragic. So I think it was a case of just I ran into one of the great books of the last 20 years that kind of shows what's going on in our modern world.
But the tricky bit here is to take incredibly complex financial data, which even the bankers don't really seem to understand.
A lot of them don't, yeah.
And make the audience understand it while still telling a story, making us laugh occasionally, and keeping the story moving forward.
That would be the part of the movie that I think some people would say, why did you do that?
Actually, my name's Jiang, and I do speak English. Jared likes to say I don't because he thinks it makes me seem more authentic.
We felt like it was really important. We wanted to be the first Wall Street movie that really took you behind the curtain, that really says, okay, all these confusing terms you hear, all these ways that the banks make you feel stupid or bored.
With something called a credit default swap. It's like insurance on the bond, and if it goes bust, you can make 10 to 1, even 20 to 1 return.
It's actually not that hard. And if the guy who did Step Brothers can understand it, I think you can understand it too. So that was the bold leap we took. It would have been very easy to just do this character story, to just show these guys being affected by it. But I really wanted this thing to bridge a gap. I think there's too much stuff in our society where people just think, banking, it's boring, I don't get it, or politics, who cares? And especially in the States, we get a lot of that. And the truth is, this stuff is exciting. I mean, this stuff is the language of power.
Nobody's buying CDO or mortgage bonds anymore, and everybody wants swaps. Swaps are now the most popular product on the street.
That's good for us.
Once you hook on it, it's like, it gets addictive. Like, I started reading all kinds of books and interviewing different people, and you start realizing that economics and finance, it is politics, that there's really no difference between them. And your favorite sports team is affected by politics. Your kids going to college, your house, your dental bills. I mean, it's everything.
But that's what lies at the root of all the problems, though.
Yes.
Right?
Well, you mean in
the connection between all of that.
In the sense that people don't understand these dynamics, so they get taken advantage of?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to show that this thing that half of Wall Street doesn't understand, these derivatives, mortgage-backed securities, they're actually pretty easy. They bundled a bunch of mortgages, they sold them, they made a ton of money, they ran out of good mortgages, so they put crappy mortgages in, and then coerced the ratings agencies to give them AAA. That's it. That's the whole story.
0. Triple B's. 0. And then that happens.
What is that?
That's America's housing market.
So the movie focuses really on 4 people who are Wall Street, but just slightly outside of Wall Street, who see this crash coming. They understand it. They see it in advance. Are they heroes or not? Because they were betting against the American dream, really, in some ways.
Yes.
So were they opportunists or were they heroes?
I think for half the movie, they're heroes. I think for half the movies, they're trying to kick the big banks in the teeth. They saw that the big banks were wrong. They were doing their job. The market is supposed to work. Where you see a bad investment, you do the counter investment.
Anyone can see that there's a real estate bubble.
Actually, no one can see a bubble. That's what makes it a bubble.
That's dumb, Lawrence. It's always markers.
And I think about 60% into the movie, they realized it was so much bigger than what they realized. Right. And I always compare it to like a tsunami coming. And these were the guys running around telling the villagers, get up in the hills, get up in the hills. And everyone got up in the hills, and then they realized the tsunami was 1,000 times bigger than they thought, and it swamped the hills.
Fraud has never, ever worked. Eventually, things go south. When the hell did we forget all that?
So that's what's kind of heartbreaking about it. These guys were doing the right thing. They were doing their job. In the end, it was so big, and the corruption was so much larger than they imagined.
How can the banks let this happen?
It's fueled by stupidity.
But that's not stupidity, that's fraud.
Tell me the difference between stupid and illegal, and I'll have my wife's brother arrested.
And you meet these real guys to this day, and they still have a 1,000-yard stare. They're still shocked by what they found.
Is this a slice of history? Is it a cautionary tale, or is it both?
All the effects of this collapse are still completely in play. If you look at the euro, you look at Greece, you look at what happened to Spain, you look at our debt on our books that just really got taken off the bank's books and put on our government's books. All these same questions are still in play, and they fixed a few things, but they didn't fix the main weight-bearing beams that caused this problem. And that's one of the other main reasons we made this movie, is we wanted people to not understand that. Like, this isn't over.
Congratulations on it.
Thank you so much, man. Pleasure talking with you.